Okay, I thought I'd make a little video about my 86 Honda XR 600R dual carburetor model, since I've got to go through these carbs, try to get them to run clean. There's a couple of things that you run into on these, and sometimes just on the single carb models, but particularly, on these dual carb models. A lot of guys will come and talk to me and they'll say, hey, this thing won't idle right, it won't start correctly, it got a big dead spot, off of idle. 9 times out of 10, what you'll find on these dual carbs and the single carb models is this pilot jet is plugged up. Okay, it's this guy right here. I'll get my camera over here. Excuse my camera work here. But your slow jet or pilot jet is right here. If that little guy gets plugged up, it's a world of hurts. So it's got to be clean. The passageway that it feeds through has to be clean. So use carburetor cleaner to clean those guys. Use compressed air. Do not use one of these or a piece of wire. You'll be sorry if you did. You scratch the inside of that and you screw the metering all up. So that's how you clean those guys. The second thing that you'll run into on these dual carb models, there's a primary side and there's a secondary side. Okay, so what you end up with is just off of throttle or off idle, when you start twisting the throttle, you can see the primary side opens first. And as you twist more and more and more throttle, then the secondary side comes in. So the primary side leads, secondary side follows. That's normal on these cars. Think of it like a 4-barrel carburetor with primaries and secondaries. The problem is when you run into these guys and you're having a problem with the bike, especially if it's starting and then trying to die, is someone has switched the bowls. And you think, oh, that's no big deal, they're identical. Well, no, they're not. The primary side bowl, I don't know if you can see it in this light, has a drilled passage right here. This passage right there is drilled, so the fuel in the bowl can come up here, up this pipe, okay, through the starting, what they call the choke lever. It's not really a choke, it's an enricher, and into the motor. So if you swap these two over, this secondary bowl is not drilled. So that's one big headache, and that's people, a lot of times they'll take these apart to clean everything out and they'll get the bowl switched up and it ends up being worse than when they started. So anyway, so your pilot jet on this guy, stock is a number 45. Okay, main jet, which is this guy right here. This thing will focus right. That's a 122 on these carburetors. And then you have your needle jet, which is up inside on your slide. Your needle, I should say your needle. And then you have the needle jet. And that guy, the needle jet, is down at the bottom of this guy that sits right in here, and your main jet screws into the top of it. And also on your needles, on the primary side, your clip is 4 down from the top. That's a stock position. On the secondary side, it's 2 down from the top. That's where the clip sits. So, and the only other thing I had for you was these rebuild kits. I'm getting these out of Japan. They're available on the internet, on eBay, and it doesn't take that long to get them. It took me less than a week to get these guys, and I've used them before and they work really well. I don't have any problem with them. The main problem is just take your time, go through, step by step, make sure that everything's how it's supposed to be. Oh, one other thing I forgot. Now, if I can do this with one hand or not. When you're setting the float levels, you're supposed to hold the carburetors so the needle valve is just, or the float is just touching the needle valve. You hold it at that angle. And you take your good old calipers here. And you set them at 18 millimeters. And you go from the bottom surface of the carburetor to the bottom surface of the float. And that's supposed to be right at 18 millimeters, and pretty critical on these guys. They're both set the same. So I hope that helps you out if you ever have to tackle one of these dual carb models. Thanks for watching.